Hello, everybody. It's Corey from The Abundant Artist. I am just double checking that we are live on Facebook as well, because we're going live on Facebook as well. There we go. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks again for joining us for this live office hours session. If you don't know me, I'm Corey Huff. I am the author of How to Sell Your Art Online, and I am the founder of the Abundant Artist Association, which is a group that helps artists learn how to run their art like a business, or run their art business like a real business, however you want to say that. So today we're going to spend some time answering your questions about selling art. We also have a workshop coming up on Friday, which I'll talk more about here in a little bit. But we are happy to answer any of your questions that you might have. I'll be on live here for the next hour or so, as I am actually working on the final steps for Friday's session, Friday's workshop. So I'm going to get that stuff done. And while I do that, I'll answer all of your questions, any questions you might have. FYI, I am a little under the weather today. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I may have to step away to powder my nose, and I'll be munching on cough drops while I'm doing this. So I feel okay, but I'm just a little congested. All right, so let's dive into some questions. There's a couple of good questions here that I like a lot. Hey, Christy. Hey, Olga. Over on Facebook, Sharon, Vanessa, Helen. There's a whole bunch of people live now. Awesome. Glad to see all of you. Catherine, Sharon, Dan, Stephanie. It's great to see all of you good people here. Okay. So the first question that I wanted to address is Joanna. And by the way, Joanna, if you are live on the call, I'm just going to go ahead and invite you to join us if you want to. Whoops. Invite user on screen. There we go. If I could hit the right button. I'm going to invite you to join us to talk through your question because it's a good one and it has some nuance to it. So if you're here with us live, Sharon says you can't see us. No, I can't see you. Only if I invite you on screen. So Joanna, if you do want to come on screen, feel free to do so. You do have to have, it says, Joanna, it says that your device is incompatible. So you do have to have the Chrome browser to do it. Yeah. She says, I'm in the wrong browser, just a sec. All right. Well, I'll invite you back, Joanna. And if you get on the right device, then we will do that. Okay, so the answer to the question, I didn't read the question. I should actually read the question. I'm a little out of it today. I'm high on cough syrup, guys. If my goal is to build to selling high dollar paintings, do galleries have to be a part of my plan? I know galleries aren't all created equal. How would you recommend going about finding a good gallery if this has to be a part of your plan? Okay, so then there's one more question. So, and the last question is actually related. It's, I don't feel like I am like folks who can afford paintings over $1,000. So how do I even begin to have a conversation with or tell a story to the folks who can spend money on high dollar art? Okay, for those of you who are in the chat, if you do have questions, the chat goes by so fast that I may not necessarily see your questions. If you do have questions, post your questions under the Ask a Question section in the Crowdcast, and I will try to answer your question there. If you're watching live on Facebook, say hi. And if you do have questions, you can post them in the Facebook comments, or you can pop over to Crowdcast and find us. My Crowdcast account is The Abundant Artist or Corey Huff. And you can post a question in the live stream there because sometimes the comments go by so fast I don't see them. Okay. So Joanna, to answer your question, do I have to use galleries to sell high dollar art? Well, it all depends on what you mean by high dollar. If you're talking about $1,000, or are you talking about $5,000, you're talking about $10,000 or more. Hey, Joanna.
Hi.
Hi. Where are you from?
I've got a little one here too, so if
that's
she
okay.
makes fun noise, well, yeah.
Okay. And what's your little one's name?
This is Elsa.
Elsa? Hi, Elsa.
She doesn't know what's going on.
It's like, yeah,
She's freaking
that's
out
funny.
a little bit. Thanks for taking my question. I really appreciate it, Corey.
Absolutely. Yeah. And where are you based, Joanna?
I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Big art hub, not very far away from you.
I know. It
Yeah.
seems like if you're painting feathers and bones, it's a good place, but not for
not your style. Okay.
not my style.
Okay. So yeah, when you say expensive art, high dollar art, are we talking $5,000, $10,000? What?
Yeah. I mean, I want to be painting higher dollar stuff, and I'm trying to do some research to figure out what that will look like. I love painting people, but I know landscapes sell for more, and I want to be able to do. Obviously, I have a little one, so I'm trying to do biggest bang for the buck kind of thing. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I think, I was thinking like the 5-10 grand kind of like bigger size and stuff too. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, mysterious stranger.
Yeah. That's my mom, who's also an artist, and we're both
Mom.
like trying to get you in here, so this is
Sure.
good.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess basically I'm trying to figure out if it's like to approach a gallery is very intimidating. Obviously, I have to have a strong body of work before I can do that. But I'm just trying to think about like how I even start approaching that.
Right. Okay. So, what is your, you mentioned something about potentially painting landscapes or like looking at a couple different styles of work. Have you not settled on a style yet?
No, I'm actually honestly getting back into painting. It's been a couple years because of the little one, and I have always enjoyed both, but my mom and I both are kind of all over the map. We love to do whatever we want to do, and we're trying to figure out like what is actually a good thing for us to focus on. What's something that's limiting enough but has enough variation that will be fun for us to keep painting. So, and that's a whole nother slew of questions, I'm sure. But I guess like I run a business as well. So I'm trying to think of this more like a business person instead of just
What's your other business?
At a college artist.
What's your other business?
I do graphic design for real estate agents. So a lot of marketing, and I know how to solve a problem for people. But when it's like, do you want to buy my thing? Do you like it? It's a little bit different.
Okay. So obviously I talk to a lot of artists, and I actually talk to a lot of graphic designers who are also artists, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things you run into as a graphic designer is when you think like a designer, you're actually thinking about how do I solve this person's problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Or how do I make this experience better, right?
Right.
So you're thinking about it external to yourself. You're putting your head into the client's mind, and that's a great thing to do for a designer. But where I think you might end up hurting yourself as an artist is think about what do people want to. When you start thinking about what do people want to buy, you actually inhibit your ability to make the art that is the art that you're called to make.
That's good advice, because that's so good. That's encouraging to hear, because I think like I've been thinking like, well, I need it to make good money. I can't just
But you have graphic design. You have a graphic design business that lets you make money, right?
Right.
So you don't need to make art that makes money immediately.
That's true.
So where I see a lot of beginning artists get themselves into a trap is they go, well, I'm going to do portraits, or I'm going to do commissions, or I'm going to do like pet portraits, like and there's or like daily paintings, and those are all great ways to get started to make money immediately if you're an artist that's trying to figure out how do I make money today.
Right.
But if you don't need to make money today, then I would actually say, what is the thing that you're afraid of painting that if the money didn't matter, you would paint that?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Because I mean, I think all of us realize it's possible to paint whatever, but painting something that's really like, I don't know, distinct to the person is where it should be, right?
Yes. Yeah,
okay. That's really, really helpful.
Yeah, so I would say go think about like what is the thing that you're obsessed with? What is the thing that you talk about all the time that your friends are like, yes, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Right, and go paint that. And then the thing you mentioned that you and your mom are eclectic painters and you like to paint whatever, that's fine. But when we're talking about building a business or a career out of being an artist, what you actually want to do is make art in a series that is about a certain topic.
Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. And we keep trying to think about what is that topic going to be like. We can't we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves, which I'm sure you hear all the time. But like, what's something that's like limited but expansive enough that you can have enough variety within that? And does it have to be like only a particular medium? Have you found that people who try to do more than one medium kind of?
No, if you go like look at a Picasso collection at any museum that has a large Picasso collection, there's going to be paintings and sculpture and other mixed media stuff that he's done.
Yeah,
and yeah, you'll see, and like Andy Warhol. Yeah. But the thing is, like early in his career, he wasn't Picasso.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the same thing, like you look at, I went to a Ray Gun collection at the, whatever that's called, the MoMA in New York City. Oh. Same thing, right? All kinds of different media, right?
Yeah.
So what I would say is, let's say, for example, that you are really passionate about the ocean, right? And you're an artist who loves going to the ocean. You have a vacation home there and you spend all your time surfing and skiing.
Right.
Skiing is not the right word.
Like, I know what you meant.
Yeah. So like how many different kinds of art can you make about the ocean, right? Like you can paint seascapes, obviously. But do you paint happy seascapes or angry seascapes or storms or calm oceans? Right, like you can go so deep into that, and then do you paint do you include lighthouses or not? Do you paint like crumbling ocean towns or vibrant ocean towns? Like there's so many different things and ways that you can expand on a theme.
Yeah, well, and that's so like, I mean, even in art school when we had limitations, it was interesting to see like just how much you can actually do within the boundaries of something. And I think all of us need some sort of boundaries on stuff, because otherwise we have no focus. And that's definitely where I'm at, is trying to figure out what those limitations should be. You suggest that people do like one medium just to start and try and just keep it within that. And if it calls for it within that idea to go to sculpture, for example, then try it. Or do you feel like
if that feels like a good medium to you, that's great. I would say instead, I would say, how can you explore whatever your idea is completely and thoroughly?
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna write this down. Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then I guess the other questions I asked are probably much further down the road. I mean, like I said, I'm just getting back into things, but do you have suggestions for people as far as galleries are concerned? I mean, I love that you're a big proponent of like, just everybody needs to have control on their website, and not necessarily be dictated to by somebody else, like a gallery or some other website, right? But is there a right to go to a gallery?
So the time to go to a gallery is when you've built a relationship with a gallery that is what they call a blue chip gallery, right? Like it's a gallery that has a stable base of collectors. They sell art all the time, and the gallerist is really enthusiastic about your work.
Yeah.
You, generally speaking, you don't want to go to a gallery that you have to fight to get into.
Yeah.
Because if they're like, oh, fine, I'll take a piece.
Right.
They're not going to hang it. They're not going to sell it. So you want what I would say is build your own audience for a while, and then either approach a gallery when the time is right.
Yeah.
And then you'll know that the time is right when there starts to be demand for your work and people are offering to buy your work.
Right.
And you're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Okay.
When you're like so overwhelmed with offers and interest, then it's time to find a good gallery, right?
So it's all supply.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing, like you mentioned that you don't, like your social circle is not people who buy expensive art.
Right. I mean, like the reason we're artists is we like to make it. So why would we go buy it?
Sure.
I mean, I buy other people's art, but I can never spend more than, $1,000 on something.
Yeah. So my suggestion would be that you change your social circle, not change, expand.
Okay.
It's not that hard to get to know.
Just kidding.
It's not that hard to get to know some of those people.
Okay.
Go join a local club where some of those people might hang out. Like here in Portland, we have the Multnomah Athletic Club. It's a club that's right next to the soccer stadium. And it's expensive to become a member, but it's a great investment for people who can afford it, because then you get to know like a lot of other wealthy people that go there.
Right.
Right. And there's clubs all over the place. There's there's neighborhoods that you hang out in. Like there's coffee shops in neighborhoods that are well-to-do, like all that kind of stuff. Going to events where wealthy people are going to be. So like Chamber of Commerce events and like government events, government functions.
Okay.
Any of that kind of stuff.
That sounds so intimidating.
It's really not. Like, so for example, the city of Portland hosts a brown bag lunch every Friday. It's not the city of Portland. It's like there's some club, I don't remember the name of it, hosts a brown bag lunch every Friday where they have influential people from around the city come and talk about a variety of topics, right? Each week is a different theme.
Yeah.
And it might be like Black Lives Matter. It might be something about like zoning issues, like whatever. But so they go and you eat like a mediocre lunch at an expensive hotel. But then you get to meet a bunch of people who care about these things and have money. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically just getting out of your social circle and meeting some of those people. Also just go to galleries, right? Go to the galleries, strike up conversations, go to the openings and the parties. That's part of being a professional.
Okay.
Yeah. As a graphic designer, you probably go to networking events or other things where you get business, right?
Yes and no. I mean, a lot of it is word of mouth, and actually that's a good point. I hadn't thought about like the circle of people that I have there is, because it's mostly real estate agents, and those folks, they're extroverted and they are totally, all of them like that. And they know how important it is to socialize like that. And I'm back here behind my computer being introverted. And
so, you know what? I bet if you asked a couple of your real estate agent clients to invite you to some events, they would.
That's such a good point. And actually, then I wouldn't feel like, hey, I don't know any of you people. Right?
Yep. Okay, bring a buddy is always a good rule of thumb.
It's like an obvious answer, but I'm so thankful that that we have you as a resource, which I'm sure everybody is saying right now. So
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks so much, Joanna. I'm going to move on to the next question.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay.
Before I move on to the next question, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the workshop that we're doing on Friday. If you haven't heard about it yet, you're probably just encountering us for the first time because I've been talking about it nonstop. But I'm going to post a link to the workshop in the comments. The workshop is an art and PR workshop. Hello, everybody on Facebook. There's a lot of you. Basically, the workshop is all about how to get the attention of journalists, bloggers, other people like that. If you're having a hard time with the sound, you may want to refresh the page. And for the workshop on Friday, getting the attention of journalists, bloggers, other people who have large followings in social media, it's all about that. There's a link in the comments there. If you have any questions about the workshop, feel free to post those questions. But there's the link to the sign-up page and the info page for the workshop. Okay. Let's see. Done answering Joanna's question. Let's see. Oh, Lynn, this is such a great question. All All right, Lynn, I'm going to answer this question. Is there a way that you can recommend researching art fairs that are profitable for the effort? Okay, great question, Lynn. So for those of you who don't know, so artfaircalendar.com is a good place to start to just get a list of all of the art fairs that exist. And I'll post a link in the chat as well. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Now, as far as figuring out, okay, so you go to Art Fair Calendar and you do your research and you've got your list of all your art fairs.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, it costs $5 to 10 grand to get a booth, right? Yep. So how do I figure out which one's going to be profitable? There's a couple rules of thumb. So we've had Owen Garrett come on our podcast a couple times and talk about this. And this is what he says and what's been my experience and the artists from our community. Generally speaking, don't do first year art fairs. If it's the first year they're doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If they're just getting started, don't do it.
Forget it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. If you can, go to the art fair and walk around and see what other artists are doing. Right. See who's there, see whether or not the quality of work is up to your standard, or if you're just like better than all of them. And then see whether or not, like, talk to some of the artists that are there and just have a conversation with them. Say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this art fair next year. What's your experience? Right. And then from there, look at some of the art, like go to the art fair websites and look at their previous, like a lot of them have lists of previous artists.
Okay. Yeah. Right. That would be helpful.
Look at those lists and see how, does your work fit in with that group? And that's probably, as far as real solid research, that's the best that I can give you. Other than that, it's literally just word of mouth, hey, how did you do? And here's the thing that a lot of artists don't know is most of the time, you don't actually make a lot of money at the art fair itself. The art fair itself is your networking and opportunity gathering time, where you're going to gather email addresses and contact information and business cards. And you're going to use that opportunity to you put out a sign-up sheet for people to join your mailing list, all that good stuff. And you're going to want to try to be as chatty and personable as possible. And then follow up after the art fair. And you'll usually get, 2 or 3 or 4 times as many sales after the show as you do at the show itself.
So following up with emails to the people who signed up. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is you are talking about visiting and it's far away and expensive. And so really you're looking online trying to determine what's good and not. So
Sarah O'Connor has some good comments here. She says, check out so Sarah does most of her work at outdoor shows. And she says, check out what their Facebook or what their social media comments look like. Pictures will say a lot about them. This is absolutely true. And can you see any sold works in the pictures? Like search their social media to see if they're featuring any artists that sell their work. And also search the hashtag to see whether or not anybody's talking about selling work at that show.
Oh,
right.
All right.
Yeah. So do your homework and hopefully those will give you some good suggestions.
Would you think that there's a part of the country that's more consistently affluent in buying art at fairs than others? Because New Mexico, I have to tell you, is really down. It has been significantly.
Yeah, it totally depends on the overall trends in the art market. It depends on what your style is. It depends on regional economic issues, right? So if Southwestern art is not popular anymore, not trendy anymore, then obviously Santa Fe and New Mexico is going to struggle. Yeah. But then when cowboy art becomes popular again and Southwest art becomes popular again, then everybody starts coming back. So these things are cyclical, right? Yeah. So like Sarah mentioned that she does great in urban environments, but not as well in rural, right? So you do an urban art show, maybe you do well, maybe not so much at a country art show.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
You bet. Where is that? Are you based in New Mexico?
I'm in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Actually, I'm Johanna's mother. Actually, we just passed the baby off.
All right. Well done.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Lynn. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Great question. Somebody asked how long are office hours. So I'm planning to go until, I'll be here till 3 o'clock or so. Obviously you can take off and leave if you need to, but we'll be here, we'll be around kicking around and talking until people feel like leaving, or until 3 o'clock at the latest, because I do have to make sure that I get stuff ready for Friday. Okay. Jillian, whoops. Boy, I keep clicking the wrong button. Jillian says, what's the best way to get noticed by curators on a site like Saatchi? And it looks like Jillian's not here live. So we will go ahead and just answer her question real quick. So the question, how do I get noticed by the curators on websites like Saatchi? Basically, your art has to be on the page. Obviously, you have to have an account with Saatchi Art or whichever site you're looking at, and your art has to be on there. And then the other thing you need to do is just upload new art regularly. So if you create a collection, call it 3 to 5 pieces or 5 to 10 pieces, whatever, and then regularly rotate pieces in and out or add new pieces, those curators will eventually see you. And really, there's nothing you can do other than hope they like your work. One thing you can do is find out, do your research and find out who they are, and then maybe follow them on Instagram or on social media and see if you can strike up a relationship there. But otherwise, there's not a lot that you can do. It's just kind of luck of the draw. There's thousands and thousands of artists on each of those websites. So it's just a little bit of luck. I wouldn't spend a ton of time on it. Let's see. Helen says, I'm having problems getting my digital photos to my okay, Helen, I can't really show you how to put photos on Instagram right now, but as far as getting photos from your camera to your phone, what I usually do is I have a Dropbox account, dropbox.com. And I upload my photos from my camera to Dropbox, and then I download the Dropbox app onto my phone, and then I grab the photos from the Dropbox app to my phone. The Moto G4 phone, if that's a smartphone, I've never heard of that phone. If that's a smartphone, there should be if it's an Android phone, there should be a Dropbox app compatible for it. If not, you'll have to come up with some other weird workaround, but that's usually how most people do it. All right. Nancy B says, great question. So Nancy, I'll invite you on to chat about this, about email marketing. So basically, Nancy, hang on just a second, sorry.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi there, Nancy.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. So Nancy's question, and I'll just read it verbatim here. Email seems like the king of options because you can keep complete control. However, only the subscribers see it. But if I do a blog post, then it's not exclusive anymore. So how do I decide what, should I blog? Should I do emails? And how do I decide which is which, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So Nancy, where are you based?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville's awesome. Beautiful.
Really good at art community that's starting to come of age, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, there's a great art community there. I was there last year doing a workshop. It was an awesome place. Okay. So as far as do I blog or do I email, the answer is do both. There's no reason that you can't write a blog post and then email it to your people. I would not make being on your mailing list about the exclusivity of your blogging content. I would make it about being an insider and getting access to your studio and getting first look at your work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of have used that as an Instagram, doing the behind the scenes and that kind of thing. But I guess I'm becoming more and more convinced that email is the way to go, especially with the recent changes.
Yep.
And that nobody's seeing anything. So I guess that's just, I need to maybe stay out there on the Instagram and Facebook, but really focus on the email.
Yep. Yeah. The real answer, like ideally you do all of it, but the one you don't want to neglect is your mailing list.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to get the most sales from your mailing list. Like if you invite people to buy on Instagram, they may not. It's going to be much more likely to buy if they're on your mailing list.
Sure. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Good luck. Let's pop over and see what people are saying on Facebook. Hey there, everybody on Facebook. Good to see you. Christy and Sarah and Colette. Hello. Hello to everybody that's watching. I appreciate y'all being here. Okay. Let's see. Stephanie says, and I'll invite her on. Stephanie says, I decided that I wanted to do a limited run of prints. I have 12 images total that I want to sell in editions of 7 for $375 each. Do I just post these on Instagram and see what happens? I think I might be more scared than anything and basically seeking strategy help. Okay. All right, Stephanie. Okay, you can't be on screen because you're at work. That's fine. Okay, so Stephanie, you want to sell 12 images in a run of 7 for $375 each. That's fine. You can do that. My question would be, have you ever sold any prints before? And if you have, what was the price? And what do your originals sell for right now? If you can answer that for me. Okay, so you sold some prints and photographs. These are photographs. Okay. And you want to do a run of 7. Okay. But you've never sold any of them. All right. So what I would probably do is, like, how many social media followers do you have, or email list, or any of those kind of assets? $1,800 Instagram followers. Yeah. And so you haven't posted this to Instagram and told people they're for sale? You have 500 people on your mailing list? Okay, awesome. All right. Super, super straightforward, easy thing for you to do here, Stephanie. You're going to email, let's say email Monday. So on your website, I want you to just take down your shop, like just unpublish it. You don't have to delete everything, just unpublish it. And then this coming Monday, email your audience and just let them know, hey, I'm going to be unveiling a new line of work with limited edition prints for 12, all the things you just told me. And I just wanted to let you know that goes live the following Monday, a week from, so if you're sending the email on Monday and then you're going to open your shop the following Monday, you're going to do a flash sale. Call it a flash sale. And let them know that it's going to, like, all the details of the sale, when it's going to open, and when they buy something, what's going to happen, and how long to expect to ship, and all that good stuff. And then say also in that email, you're going to say, and in the week in between now and then, I'd appreciate it if you told all your friends about it, right? Feel free to forward this email, or you can share with your friends on Instagram, tag me, here's my Instagram handle. And then what you're going to do is for that solid week, you're going to, each day you're going to feature 2 of your images, right? And say, hey, here's one of the pieces that's going to be in my flash sale on Monday. Here's the story behind it. And on Monday when my store goes live, you can purchase it then, right? Yeah, feature them on Instagram, exactly. So basically, you're just gonna do a flash sale, limited edition, 7 pieces. It's gonna be available for 2 days, and then you're gonna take it all down. Yep, hide the prints on your site for now. It's only 12 pieces. It's not that big of a deal. All right. If they don't sell, that's okay. You don't have to tell everybody they didn't sell. This is an experiment. It's the first time you've ever done it. You should probably assume that you only get 1 or 2 sales. But think of all of your marketing efforts as experiments, and you'll be less disappointed. Your entire career does not rest on whether or not this works. All right, cool. Thanks so much, Stephanie. Hopefully you can run with that and make it work. All right, I'll invite Les on the screen. Les can join us if they want to. So Les says, I've not started doing anything on Instagram yet, and I'm looking for advice on how to best use stories. Les can't come on screen. That's fine. So it looks like Les is a realist painter, and maybe you have some videos of time lapses of your paintings. Is there a trust by purchasers on the internet? I'm not sure what that means. Unless you mean an escrow account for holding payments until the work is shipped or whatever. We can talk about that in a second. Very diverse images, and you have no internet presence currently. Okay. Used to sell via galleries, but dropped out of the mainstream due to health and want to try self-driven sales now. Okay. All right. So Les, if you don't have any sort of web presence right now, Instagram is a great place to get started. Obviously, at some point you'll want to get a website. But if you're like, all I can do right now is just Instagram because I have limited capacity and resources and health and whatever, that's totally fine. So the thing that I would start with is just start with like have a nice curated look to your Instagram. So when your Instagram loads, you've got a nice curated look mix of finished pieces and work in progress pieces. And when you said that you have very diverse images, hopefully you heard me earlier at the top when I was talking to Joanna about creating work in a series. I'd encourage you to create work in a series rather than trying to sell a bunch of paintings that you just made whenever you felt like making them. Have a series of work is the ideal. And then just post 2 or 3 times a day, and keep your homepage, your Instagram homepage, relatively curated and high quality photos with good lighting. And then your stories can be the time lapses, the behind the scenes looks. Sarah O'Connor, who was chatting in the comments earlier, does a really good job of using stories to talk about her work, to show herself standing in front of her works. And so then you see like the scale of it and you get to know the artist a little bit. So using stories to tell those, using Instagram stories to tell those stories is a really great way to do that. And you can do time-lapse videos with the regular Instagram posts too, with just videos. But stories are a great way of using those as well. And stories tend to be good for little continuous blips throughout the day or short little videos that are behind the scenes stuff. So hopefully that gives you a place to get started. But more than anything else, I would just say, don't be afraid to experiment. Get in there and start messing around and trying stuff and see what works. Yeah. Cool. All right. Jack says, I make stained glass tennis rackets. That's cool. All right, I make stained glass tennis rackets. Where do I begin to sell to a wider market? Currently, I only sell to my tennis partners and friends. Neat. People don't spam the stream with, hey, follow me. Don't spam the stream with, hey, follow me on Instagram. Yeah, okay. Jack, okay, so how do I grow my audience to a wider market? There's a lot of people out there that like tennis, okay? There's a lot of sports fans out there. And by the way, this is a great example of selling in a series and having a specific point of view in your work. You should be able to sell the heck out of these. Now, if they are literally stained glass, then obviously they're going to be a little more expensive. So, but which is fine because wealthy people play tennis. I would, oh, you know what? Here's what I would do, Jack. I would hold I'd do a living room strategy event. So either in your home or the home or in the home of one of the people who has purchased one of these things from you, have a party and invite, have a party and invite, 10 friends or 10 of their friends, and have food, have drinks, have a good time. Give a 5-minute talk about your work, talk a little bit about your background and how you started doing this work, and let people know it's for sale, but no high pressure sales situation. And call it an hour, call it 2 hours, be done. If you can do 3 or 4 of those kind of parties, you will start to spread the word about your work to other people. Okay. Yeah. Sharon says, as far as social media goes, don't forget to use hashtags about your item. Absolutely. Post pictures of those things to Instagram and Facebook, hashtag tennis racket, hashtag stained glass, all that good stuff. But I would start with doing some small parties with your friends and their friends who all play tennis. And you should be able to get some momentum going there. All right. Okay. Cyn, C-Y-N, says, Facebook privacy problems. Can you touch on that? Facebook and Instagram, so by extension, do the same problems exist? Yes. So big thing in the news right now, we're actually getting ready to publish a blog post on this, on ways to market your work besides Facebook. So I won't go into all of that because we're getting ready to publish a blog post on it. But I will say, if you are concerned about your privacy on Facebook, you can download your profile with all of your contact information and everybody's birthdays and emails and everything, and then delete your account or suspend your account or whatever the right term is. If you use Facebook for marketing, you don't have to use Facebook for your personal stuff, right? Like you can set all your privacy settings to zero, to only you, and take down all your pictures and everything, so that you're running a Facebook business page, and then you don't have to worry about putting your own personal stuff on Facebook. But I will say that all of the privacy concerns that you might have about Facebook definitely extend to Instagram. Obviously not as much of your personal info and everything is on Instagram, but there's still quite a bit of information on Instagram. Your location data is all on Instagram. If you have the Instagram app on your phone, then there's probably a log there of all of your call history and text message history, just like there is with the Facebook app. So just be careful. And if those things make you uncomfortable, do whatever you got to do, delete whatever you want to delete, or delete your account. But don't assume that just because you move to Instagram, you're not going to have privacy issues, because that is absolutely going to happen, whatever app you're using. Hopefully that answers your question, soon. All right. So Stephanie, I don't have any good suggestions for residency programs in Portland. We do have a list of, if you do a search for art residency programs, The Abundant Artist, we have a link to a list of a bunch of programs. So you might start there. All right. Michelle says, what if your passion is to be a custom, okay. What if your passion is to be a custom portrait artist? How would you get more commissions? Your medium is graphite, color pencils, and pen and ink pointillism. Caricatures and sale mix. Okay, you're doing way too many things, first of all. Okay. So Michelle, you've listed like eight mediums here, and that's fine. But if all you're wanting to do is just do caricature and portraits, then you can start with what I just talked about with Jack, where you do a living room strategy where you have some friends over and show them some portraits that you did for hopefully a mutual friend. Do it in their home so that their friends see it. And that's one way to get started doing portrait work. All of the stuff that we've talked about already, sharing stuff on Instagram and hashtags, all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks, Melissa. I appreciate that. So those are all some great ways to get started. And then obviously just posting on social media regularly will get you started. Without talking to you and hearing a little bit more about what you've already done, I'm not sure I can answer more of that. Okay. DVG Creative, let's see. I paint aerial agricultural landscapes. I'm planning on reaching out to ag companies and vineyards for commission work. Okay, so DVG Creative says, I paint aerial agricultural landscapes and I want to reach out to agricultural companies and vineyards for commission work. Any suggestions? Yes, you just have to do it. I listened to a podcast yesterday, the Tim Ferriss podcast, and the guy one of the co-founders, there's 3 co-founders of Airbnb, he's a RISD grad, a Rhode Island School of Design grad. And he attended this sales conference where the person who was training and talking about sales said that there's a formula for dealing with rejections when people tell you no. And it's SW squared times WC equals MO. So that means SW squared is some will, some won't like it. SW squared, some will, some won't, times MC or WC, who cares, equals move on, MO. Some will like it, some won't. Who cares, move on. It's just a numbers game. I used to make 60 cold calls a day selling marketing services 10 years ago when I had that job. And I'd make 60 cold calls a day, and I knew that I'd make anywhere from 1 to 3 sales if I made 60 cold calls every day. Sometimes I'd strike out and get no sales, and sometimes I'd get a whole bunch, but my average is 1 to 3 a day. So it's just a numbers game, and you can't take the rejections personally. You literally just pick up the phone. Hey, this is Corey. This is what I do. I do agricultural landscapes. Are you the right person to talk to about a commission for your vineyard or for your whatever? Get to the right person and say, hey, I'd love to send you, I did some work. I'd love to send you my portfolio to see if you're interested in a commission. Yeah. So DVG says, is it better to call, email, or send a mailer? So calling is always the way to get an answer right away. If you have a list of them and it's a small list, I would probably just call them. And if you do send an email, don't send a mass email. Like, don't BCC everybody and just say, dear agricultural company. You want to find out the name of the person, get their email address, and send them an email directly rather than just send a mass email to the whole company or to a whole bunch of companies at once. So I like phone calls. All right, good luck with that, DVG. Oh. My stuffiness is starting to get to me. We got about 10 minutes left, and then I think I'm going to call it a day. All right. Hang on just 1 second. Okay. Hasco says, earlier you mentioned some things an artist could do if he needed to make some sales fast. Could you repeat those? Hasco, I think you were talking about like doing pet portrait sales, doing portraits of people, doing other types of commission work, daily paint works, where you make small pieces each day. Those are all things that I've seen artists do to get started to make sales quickly if they need to hustle and make some money. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Sarah, I know nothing but say one or two artists say they were an artist in residence, but they weren't living in that place. I thought you had to live in the city of the residence. Am I missing out on sponsorship or grant stuff? Okay. So the question is, do I have to live wherever I'm being an artist in residence? It totally depends on the residency. So the residency, it just depends on the rules for the residency. Like some places, they literally want you to be like physically there in residence. Some places they want you to be in residence, like it might be like a 3-month residence and you come in once a month to show your work. And some places just want to call you an artist in residency. You don't necessarily have to be there. So you have to read the rules for each specific residency or sponsorship. All right. Eileen Martinez Vicente over on Facebook says, I'm organizing a collective art show. How can I get sponsors? Pick up the phone, Eileen. So you're just gonna pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm doing this show. Would you like to sponsor? And you need to give them something, right? Like you're gonna, in return for sponsorship, their names are gonna be placed somewhere prominently, or they're gonna be able to give away some stuff at the show and have prominent placement near the front of the door. You wanna have like sponsorship levels. You wanna have like a gold, silver, and platinum sponsor. And each one's progressively more expensive, but each one progressively gets more. Maybe you put them on all their names on all the programs. The platinum sponsor, there's only one and it should be a lot more expensive and their name goes on everything. That's how you get sponsors, is you tell them specifically what they're going to get. Then you make phone calls until you get the right number of sponsors. All right. Stephanie says, how often should we post to Instagram? Once a day. More is better. Honestly, 2-3 times a day is what I see artists doing who are successful artists, at least once a day. Yeah. Carol says, from your experience, when did you and other artists cross the threshold and really begin to have lots of sales? I'm on social media, I have a MailChimp email list, a website store, and have a story of my art and took your first class. I want to increase visitors to my site and, of course, increase sales. Thanks so much. Okay, just to be clear, Carol, I am not an artist. Like the work behind me on the wall is all other people's work. I am not an artist. I am a business coach for artists and creative people. I just want to make sure that that's clear, that I'm not trying to claim anything that I'm not. Okay, that said, I've been doing this for 9 years. I've been around the block. And when do artists tend to cross the threshold and begin to have lots of sales? That I would say, once you know how to market, once you have a style and you know who your audience is and you are marketing yourself regularly and consistently, then I say that for artists who are in that area, it's a 3 to 5 year process to get to the point where sales really start to come in. But there's so many things that can alter that or change that. Like if you get sick and you have to stop marketing yourself, or something happens to a family member and you need to step back from your career for a while. Like there's so many things that can change that. Or you get a lucky break and your career takes off. Like some gallery picks you up, or some store licenses your work, and all of a sudden you're everywhere. Like, it's really, really hard to say how long it takes. So what I would maybe what I would respond to that with Carol, the subtext that I'm reading into your question is, how long do I have to keep suffering before I get what I want as an artist? I'm going to invite you on screen, Carol, because I have some questions for you if you can come on screen. It depends on what you want and what lots of sales looks like. What does that mean to you? Are you trying to make a living? Or are you trying to get to be a millionaire? There's lots of sales is a little bit of an unspecified term. And then the other thing that I would say is, as far as how long it takes however long it takes. And like a lot of art careers, painting is a game of attrition, right? Like basically the older you get, the fewer peers there are. And you'll be a better artist the longer you paint and the more you learn. And if you're burning out or feeling like you're burning out, it's okay to step away for a little bit, either just do less or just altogether step away. That doesn't mean that your career is over. It just means you're taking a break. So, I would say what I don't want to see happen with the artists that I work with is I don't want to see artists who get burned out and bitter and think that it's never going to work. And so they, burn all their work and never paint again. That's not what I want to see happen. But I do need to be real that there's no set time limit. There's no guarantee for any of it, right? So you just have to be willing to keep going. And if that feels like torture, don't do it. Do something else. There's lots of things that you can do with your life. And painting can take a back seat for a while if you're getting burned out. So hopefully, that's sort of my feelings about it. Jack says, should I include some of my paintings in the living room parties? Of course. Like, no. If you're doing the canvas, sorry, not canvas, the stained glass tennis pieces, that's a different thing. I wouldn't even market that at all. Like the stained glass tennis rackets is a good idea. It's a marketable idea. It has great commercial potential. Don't muddy the waters by trying to sell other work on top of it. Wait until your core piece is doing well, and then introduce new work later. Yeah. Carol, I'm glad the pep talk was helpful. All right. So Phyllis says, can you explain what outbound links are that Facebook would penalize you for using on your Facebook business page? Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what you mean here, Phyllis, but I think what you're talking about is if you post a link to something outside of Facebook on your Facebook business page, fewer people will see that because Facebook doesn't want you to go away from Facebook. Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook. So yeah, like that's a thing. And so when you say penalize, what they're talking about is Facebook's just going to show it to fewer people. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't post links, because obviously you need to post links to your work, to your website, to your shows, all that good stuff. What I would recommend is you learn how to use Facebook's ad platform and boosting posts effectively. So hopefully that helps. Alina Smolyansky says, thank you for this opportunity. I wonder if artists using LinkedIn and what's the best way to use this network? Thank you. Alina, the only artists I know who use LinkedIn are artists who are going for licensing work. And in that case, there's a huge art licensing group on LinkedIn if you're into that. And what's the word I'm looking for? So, and then the way those artists use LinkedIn is for that group, as well as finding people who purchase work for companies, right? Like, so you're looking for people with buyer in the title. to see whether or not they want to license work for their products. All right. Bernade says, thanks so much for the info. If we do a one-on-one consult, would it be this kind of format? Yeah, so we'll do a video call, probably via Zoom because it's one-on-one. But it would be, we'd actually be able to talk to each other. With this, we've got 80-something people watching, so I can't possibly talk to everybody. But yeah, we would do a one-on-one chat. Thanks, Bernade. By the way, if anybody wants to work with me, I just finished up with a client. So I have slots for 2 artists that I can work with as coaching clients. You can read more about that at theabundantartist.com/coaching. And yes, Friday's workshop is a full-day workshop. Somebody else asked about that. Beth says, did I cover what an email funnel for artists looks like and the best third-party sites for use for selling their art? Those were just examples that I used from my email, Beth, but basically, okay, so I'll give you like an overview of what an email funnel might look like here. If you have specific questions about that email funnel, I'm happy to do that. And I'll invite you on screen, Beth, if you have specific questions about your email marketing. But for those who are looking for an in-depth explanation of email marketing and email funnels, if you sign up for How to Sell Your Art Online 201, over at theabundantartist.com, then we have like a whole course on it's like 10 hours of coursework on building an email list and building an email funnel, on how to do all that good stuff. So the gist of what an email funnel is, so if you think of when you think of the sales process, and if you think of the sales process as a funnel, get my analogies going here, metaphors, it's not an analogy, it's a metaphor. If you think of the sales process as a metaphor for a funnel, the very top of the funnel, the wide part, is the awareness stage. So all the people who have encountered you on social media, met you in real life, maybe saw your work, they are at the top of the funnel. They've just entered the funnel, right? And then as they go down the funnel, they're moving further along in the sales process. So they go from being aware of you to what we call nurturing, or building a relationship with you. So they're going to go to your website. They're going to learn a little bit more about your work. Maybe they hear about you from their friends. Maybe they meet you at a gallery opening or at a show or at a party, and they get to know you a little bit. So then now they've not only heard of you, but they're aware of who you are, and they have a relationship with you of some kind. And then as they start to get towards the bottom of the funnel, they become a lead, right? And a lead is somebody who's raised their hand and said, I'm potentially interested in your work, right? And a lot of times we'll consider leads to be people on your mailing list, right? People who follow you on social media, they're aware of you, they're following you, they have a relationship with you. But for the most part, anybody on social media, unless they've direct messaged you and said, hey, I'm interested, you don't know if they're interested in your work. But somebody who signs up for your mailing list, they're probably at least interested in your art. And then when they get to the bottom of the funnel, they've made a purchase, right? So that's the analogy. And so when we're talking about email marketing funnels for your art, it's once somebody joins your mailing list, what do you do? How do you get them on your mailing list? And then what do they do? What do you do with them once they're on the mailing list? And there's all the social media stuff and all the galleries and all the shows where you get people to sign up to your mailing list. And then once somebody's on your mailing list, you want to send them regularly. Regularly can mean anything from once a week to once a month, and even 5 times a week for some artists who are good at email marketing. You send them regular emails to let them know the stories about your work, the stories about you and your background as an artist, and encourage them to purchase your work, right? If Beth wanted to get into the specifics of how she's doing her email right now versus how somebody else might do their email, then we can get into that. But that's sort of the overview of what I was talking about. Hopefully that helps, Beth. Sarah says, any publications you'd suggest for painters? I feel out of the loop sometimes on opportunities. Well, obviously Professional Artist Magazine. I'll show you, this is the latest, the April-May copy. So Professional Artist Magazine, I write for them probably 2-3 times a year. Lots of good stuff in there, good tips, nice to have around. And there's a lot of really beautiful art. The interior of the magazine often has nice full color spreads of different artists' work. Here's some more. So, and a wide variety of styles and things. So it's really fun to, really fun to look through and see what other artists are doing. And the nice thing about Professional Artist Magazine is they pay their writers and they edit the work. So it's generally speaking high quality work. So other publications, obviously The Abundant Artist, I'm totally biased. But if you're looking for opportunities, obviously there's Art Fair Calendar. And then, as I mentioned, if you search for artist residencies and The Abundant Artist, you'll find a podcast that we did where we ran down a bunch of opportunities for artist residencies, and there's a database of artist residencies. Hopefully that answers that question. Okay. As we wrap up here, I just wanted to again mention on Friday, we're doing a full day workshop. I will be more energetic because I won't be sick on Friday. But on Friday, we'll be talking about how to get more attention for your work with bloggers, journalists, newspapers, television, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. We will be pushing people there. So I'd love to see you at that workshop if you want to join us. In addition, if you join Friday's workshop, you will also be able to, you'll also get access to the Abundant Artist Association, which is our membership program for professional artists. In the coaching call that we had 2 weeks ago for our existing members, we had, it was the greatest call. We had probably 15 to 20 artists on the call, and every single person on the call was either preparing for a new show that they were getting ready to open. They had just finished a show where they had sold a bunch of work, or they had just finished a huge new commission. We had one artist just finish a massive commission. So I love the members of our association. Sarah O'Connor's a member. Hi, Sarah. So I love seeing everything that everybody's doing, and our members are really, they're out there kicking butt. So I'd love to see you on Friday's workshop or in the association. I'm going to go rest. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Have a good day.